It pains me to admit that I have some reservations talking about politics, considering these videos are viewable to the public. I have, for the good part of this current administration's term, have gone dark when it comes to political postings. A good while back, I even went through my blog's old archives to hide certain controversial takes on political personalities. It's become quite tricky and even dangerous to make political thoughts public. You'd never know what reprisal is in store for you should you voice out criticisms and dissent, even if they're the truth. But hey, we're a bit optimistic for some change these coming elections, and recently it's becoming more of a crime not to speak out. When it comes to politics, I prefer to deal with principles and issues first over personalities and allegiances. That's why all this crap concerning color politics just bugs the hell out of me. I personally use my principles and morals as metrics to weigh in on political matters. My simplest position is, kahit sino pa ang nakaupo dyan, kapag tingin ko ay mali, kokontra ako kahit sa opinion lang. Besides, political parties are a joke in the Philippines. Unlike, say, in the United States, where affiliation to either red or blue party can be driven by ideologies, Philippine political parties are just a matter of strategic affiliations for candidates, and colors are more for branding. So, it does annoy me a bit when diehard supporters of this administration, who happen to be in my social networks, call me dilawan for having criticisms to a number of policies enacted by this administration. I never even considered myself a supporter of the Quinos or the Liberal Party. In fact, I didn't vote for the late Noy Noy for president in 2010. Back then, I thought he was just riding the coattails of his recently deceased mother, and his track record as senator was also quite thin. Plus, I was too naive to go with the least evil philosophy. Considering all of the candidates, he was actually the least evil, so to speak. During his term, I thought his positions were mainly neoliberal and favored the middle class and the rich primarily. I also felt that there were never really any sweeping and lasting structural and cultural changes to uplift the lives of the marginalized, like farmers, fisherfolk, and laborers. If there were attempts to do so, they have noticeably been reversed easily these past few years. So, there. But I give credit where credit is due. There were some positives that came from his term, biggest perhaps were the strong economy, winning the West Philippine Sea arbitration, and despite its bungled implementation, the K-12 educational program. Personally, I think my life was a whole lot better during his term as president. But should this acknowledgement be enough to consider me a supporter who bleeds yellow? I think not. All this equating criticism to support for the previous administration is just plain fallacious. Expressing views against the war on drugs, against the foreign transgressions in the West Philippine Sea, and commenting on the mishandling of this pandemic hardly has anything to do with who I voted for in the last elections. I believe that the drug problem should be addressed as a public health concern, that we should assert our sovereignty and the legal claim to our territory, and that our pandemic response should have been primarily driven by health policies rather than militaristic ones. See, on the level of principle. Not because I happen to vote for some uncharismatic dork in 2016, and this other guy is currently president. That said, this doesn't mean that we should disregard the personalities that would drive these principles and policies. One of the harsh lessons I've learned in life so far is never to make deals with devils, even if you have the best intentions. Moral authority is essential for true leadership. Anyway, back to color politics. It's just another thing that holds us back as a people, in my opinion. It disregards the wide gamut of values that we could hold and share. Too bad it's been part of the daily discourse for more than half a decade now, that we're all basically guilty of it. For example, when talking to like-minded peers concerning certain people, it has become quite convenient for us to just tag people as, deeds or tards. It's a rather easy way to describe and summarize a person's stance or morality. But convenience always has some trade-offs. And it's actually worrying and scary. It's because this normalization is what legitimizes repressive behaviors. And we're basically reproducing the discourse and contributing to this normalization.